Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and today we got to talk about the death spiral that is the city of Oakland, because right now, in this moment, they are currently on the precipice of a budget crisis. They've actually filed budget paperwork that says that Chapter 9 bankruptcy is in fact an option for them, although they have removed those as if we don't remember what was just in that paperwork before they took it out of that paperwork. And a large part of this is due to the fact that they embrace a lot of left-wing policies, and that caused them to pay more money for services that end up yielding worse results. And that's what I want to talk about today. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money, okay?
All right, thanks, Lawrence. The city of Oakland's finances are really in a world of trouble, so much so that in a draft report, finance staffers talked about Oakland being on the verge of bankruptcy. That report has since been rewritten, and references to Chapter 9 bankruptcy have been removed.
Yeah, but that sure doesn't change the fact that Oakland must close a projected $115 million deficit before next June.
So first things first, I need you guys to understand that although you have a picture of Oakland in your mind, and you're probably going to type in the comments that Oakland was always bad, Oakland's always been a mess, that while historically may be true, in recent years was actually not the case. In fact, there's this local news segment that I'm quite fond of playing where they talk about how crime is reducing in Oakland, and this is due in large part to the fact that they increased support for their police department, increased the number of officers, and relied on technology plus a trust in the citizenry in order to get more information on more crime.
This is a city that has averaged more than 100 homicides a year for the last 4+ decades. And today, Oakland leaders releasing the annual crime data report, which they say shows a steady 5-year decline in shootings, homicides, and robberies. There were 75 homicides occurring in Oakland last year. That is down from 85 in 2016, and that follows that downward trend.
And that's why homicide was at historic lows, and other crimes as well were also down.
2016 brought a 12% drop in violent crime versus the 5-year average, and a 20% drop in robberies. The police department has credited the improvement on a more prominent police presence and getting help from the community. With better technology, more residents and business owners are giving police video evidence of crime.
But along came the pandemic, along came the death of George Floyd, and the response to that death, the hiring by electoral process of woke mayors, woke prosecutors, and all these different so-called reformers caused them to reduce their police department, and as a consequence of that, we saw crime spike dramatically.
Now to Oakland, where concerns about crime at their only In-N-Out right by the airport has caused the company to decide to close the location for good. In-N-Out is just the latest in a long line of businesses that have shut down in the last year, citing crime as a driving factor. Customers and workers we spoke to today tell our Dial In they are angry about the closure, but not surprised.
Now, we have covered the increase in homicide, we have covered the increase in robberies, the increase in shoplifting, and all these different other various things, and I think one of the most symbolic shutdowns of a business that happened in the city of Oakland was their one In-N-Out by the Oakland airport, and this was due in large part to the fact that people were having their cars broken into just because they were stopping there. And by the way, it's not just the In-N-Out at Oakland, it's every single store in and around this complex experienced a series of robberies. So in response to this, they end up trying to put money back in the police department. A lot of lefties will say, oh, well, no police department got defunded, because if you look at their budget now as compared to before the Black Lives Matter riots, it's actually higher than it was before the Black Lives Matter riots. But what we ended up discovering is they cut the budgets. They passed all these different various rules against police officers. They hired woke prosecutors like the district attorney who was just recalled, Pamela Price, and then people started leaving the police department. So as a response to officers fleeing these departments, which were under siege by the woke left, they ended up having a spike in crime. Then they decided they were going to try to hire people back, but it turns out it costs more money in order to bring people back when you devastate the morale of the police department. So they're actually paying more money for less police services and less effective police services. This is why defund the police is a failure all around, not in just its inception and its conception, but also in its implementation, because essentially nobody got what they wanted, and now you have police officers having to work overtime in order to compensate for the dearth of officers. But that brings us to our current budget crisis, where a large portion of it is due to the fact that they're paying so much more money for police and fire services. So of course, the city of Oakland is thinking about cutting them again.
The city of Oakland is on the brink of fiscal collapse unless the city council acts fast. Tuesday, the city's finance team told council members if they continue spending at the current rate, the city will end this fiscal year in June of 2025 with a deficit of nearly $115 million and risk insolvency.
Okay, so right off the top, I just want to say, if you're going to cut anything from the budget of the city of Oakland, you should definitely cut whoever makes those lower thirds for the city of Oakland. Those are absolutely awful in every possible way. Let's be 100% clear about that. And any basic editing software has way better lower thirds just as the default than those presented in this city council meeting. So I think we can all agree that you could save money by firing whoever the hell is responsible for that ugly monstrosity. But as you can see, the numbers are quite clear. $115 million in deficit is the city of Oakland. Now, people have pointed out that it is also a sanctuary city. They're also paying for migrants. Yes, this is true. Yes, this is a factor. But again, one of the main factors that is not being talked about by a lot of people, even in right-wing media, is the fact that they're overpaying for less police services due to the fact that they went down a terrible path, and that was the path of defunding the police. That ends up devastating the businesses in Oakland. They end up leaving. That devastates the tax base. That ends up creating a deficit. You have to hire more police officers in order to try to keep the businesses that you have, but now you're cutting back, so the death spiral will continue. Again, this is the consequence of progressive policies, and you want to know why they recalled the Alameda District Attorney Pamela Price and Mayor Shang Tao. That is it in spades.
Closing the gap won't be easy.
Reductions in our public safety budgets are now unavoidable to effectively address the current year shortfall.
Police and fire services are on the chopping block because they're responsible for most of the overspending, with the police department projected to overspend its budget by $51 million and the fire department projected to overspend its budget by $34 million.
So I actually find this incredibly interesting for a number of reasons. First and foremost, if you think about the police department in the city of Oakland, and typically on the local level, police departments are the highest line item in your budget, that $51 million in overspend, although half of the deficit that we're talking about, doesn't seem all that crazy, especially when you think about the rise and spike in crime. However, the fire department at around $30 million does seem like a lot, again, proportional to the size of the agency. That being said, California has problems with wildfires, and in a lot of places, and I'm not 100% sure related to Oakland, your fire department also doubles for EMS services. So in this particular case, that could be also explainable, but considering the spike in crime in Oakland and all the problems that they're experiencing, the overspend on police seems a little bit absurd. Now, I'm hopeful for the city of Oakland that the repeal of Prop 47, which passed via ballot initiative, and the getting rid of Pamela Price, the woke district attorney, in combination will actually reduce the need for the police, because when they arrest somebody, hopefully that arrest will actually be prosecuted. But who the hell knows? California is notoriously terribly run, and Oakland is chief among one of those cities that is just run awfully in every possible way.
OPD Chief Floyd Mitchell told the city's finance committee earlier in the day they're already taking steps to address the overtime budget.
We implemented measures to really pull back all of our discretionary or special assignment overtimes. Other than that, that officers are, staying late for a specific assignment.
So the police chief is saying they're trying to get rid of all these different various discretionary overtimes, and one of the reasons why they're trying to move in this direction and head off these budget cuts is because the Oakland City Council is looking at potentially getting rid of 70 police officers in the police department. Again, this is absolutely disastrous in every possible way, because during the pandemic, during the post-George Floyd era, they lost a similar number of police officers, maybe even a little bit more, and due to that, we saw the dramatic spike in crime in the city of Oakland. So we might just get right back to those bad old days, right back to those terrible numbers, due in large part to the fact that they're cutting officers again. And to be clear, they have not recovered from the Black Lives Matter era of criminality. They definitely voted in that direction on a statewide level and locally to get rid of their mayor, to get rid of their district attorney, because they weren't doing their jobs in terms of public safety. But the fact of the matter is, there's only so much you could do when you're running out of money. But this is basically baiting disaster, because if you allow crime to run rampant, your tax base, like I said earlier, is going to get devastated. Now, of course, we have the issues with the fire department, and obviously closing a firehouse in a particular neighborhood, as outlined by the head of the fire department union, could be the difference between disaster and you actually being saved.
How cuts to police and fire will impact public safety are unclear, but the firefighters union cautioned the council against reductions.
Any firehouse closure can make the difference for your family retelling a tragic story with a happy ending or a tragic story with a terrible ending. To be clear, we've already closed one firehouse in the Grand Lake neighborhood, and this contingency budget is not surgical. It does not look for ways to find all available funds before looking at cost-cutting measures. It simply takes an axe directly to the heart of the city, the vital services that we all provide every single day.
So what I find absolutely fascinating about this is that you have these left-wing politicians, these woke politicians, like Mayor Sheng Tao, berating the public for daring to share videos of crime in the city of Oakland, because she is under the impression that those people are just confusing the public into thinking that she's not doing that good of a job. However, when you see a nearly 65% of the voting bloc vote this person out during a recall, you have to wonder, beyond the crime, what is going on in the city of Oakland. And this is a perfect example of people who are engaged in their local government knowing more than the general public. I had no clue that the emergency funds, the rainy day funds in the city of Oakland were completely spent. I mean, I would have suspected it because it is a left-wing Democrat-run city, but the fact of the matter is that Sheng Tao's recall is due to a lot of things, a lot of different factors, and chief among them might be this absolutely obvious budget disaster.
The city's finance department also told the city council Oakland's reserves have already been used up, and budget cuts must be approved before the end of December if they're to have any impact.
Past December of this year, we lose the ability and the time to make adjustments to ensure our own solvency.
The city council is set to look at specific budget cuts at its December 3rd meeting.
So like that local news segment said, we have to wait till December 3rd before we hear about the specific budget cuts that they're proposing for the city of Oakland. But obviously, this is not only a disaster in the city of Oakland, but this is something that we're seeing play out in the city of Chicago. And people are outraged more so over there because a huge portion of their budget shortfall is actually due to the fact that they're doing all this migrant spending. And right after the election of Donald J. Trump, the first thing Brandon Johnson did was push for the idea that they were going to resist all the deportation and continuously fund these migrants in infinitum, and that obviously enraged the citizens over there. But what you're seeing across this nation is a pattern of people rejecting the Black Lives Matter era politicians, and I'm hopeful that we'll see this trend continue. And remember, it's not that far away, the good times for the city of Oakland. Just 10 years ago, we were looking at those reports about these all-time reductions, or at least last 50-year reductions in homicides, the best it's ever been, and this was due in large part to the fact that they got their crap together and they were really focused on reducing crime, and that ultimately ended up leading to economic prosperity. Again, we talk about the natural advantages in California, the natural advantages in San Francisco. Well, one of the downstream effects from San Francisco becoming so wealthy, becoming so successful, although it's falling apart as well, and they got rid of their mayor as well, is the fact that people move over to Oakland and they make Oakland better. That was what was happening. It seems like they're trying to undo it with the wokest, stupidest policies possible, but we'll see how they come out of this budget crisis. And unfortunately, it looks like if they go in the direction that they're proposing, it's going to be more rough times ahead for Oakland, even though there is a better path forward. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social media, support reviews and support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about Oakland's budget disaster. Till next time.